So everybody, welcome. It's an honor to speak first time in this community Kanban coaching exchange. By myself, I'm a Kanban trainer and also Kanban consultant, and I provide services to foster evolutionary change in organizations of any size. Of course, usually I focus on companies with hundreds or some few thousand employees. And it's always an honor to start a new companies to help them improve. And of course, this today, it's not about me, it's about a company which I supported over around 12 to 14 months. And also we have contact now. They have around 700 people. And this presentation should help you and also emphasize how you can use, for example, the Kanban Maturity Model, and of course also in general Kanban to foster evolutionary change, and also know how you can make some next steps to help them. And of course you don't want to overwhelm them or overreach them with new practices which they never heard about. You want to have also some transition steps to help them. And this is also, of course, evolutionary coaching. So we will have some insights how I did that. And of course, also which challenges the company had in their context. So at first, of course, we need to gain an understanding what do they do and which business they are, and of course also which cultural and also practical view do we need to take, and where do we start with our coaching. Here you see some insights about the company. As you heard, they had around 700 people and around 50 teams. I focused in my first 12 months around on 6 teams. This was because there were the highest challenges. And of course, also I had the highest contact to the leadership in this area. But of course, at first we need to understand the overall context. And this I will also explain how I did that. Here you see the business challenges, and of course also challenges which are related to Kanban, which helps to foster steps of knowledge discovery, to understand the challenges, and of course also to make the first steps towards better ways of communication, of course, and also to collaborate better and understand customers' needs. So you see the first point here, which is about effective and fast damage services for real estates. So they provided also repairing of damages for real estates, and also, of course, had a digital interface for their customers. So the company had also an IT area and also interfaces for their customers, but also for craftsmen who repair the damages and also who provide maintenance work for real estate. And another thing was they also had offers for insurances for their customers, also in the context of real estates. So they also partnered with insurances to provide sufficient real estates. But I will focus in the next couple of minutes mainly on the first 3 points. So the digital damage management and also predictable maintenance for real estate, how they manage this. I will not focus so much on the partnering with craftsmen, and also even not so deep on the endurance part, but of course also I will address efficiency, predictability and effectiveness in general, how they fostered an appropriate balance between them. Because these 3 points, effectiveness, predictability and efficiency, they are also called as flow together. If we balance them, we cannot, of course, optimize one of them to 100%. We need always to think about an appropriate balance. So here we see also some highlights of the company. What was the benefit also for their customers? Also before I came, they are already around 20 years on the market. They administrated the damages and also the planned maintenance for their customers. They provided sufficient communication between the craftsmen and also the endurances, because they had to be good communication, and of course also process how we figure out which sum, for example, which price do we need for the endurance. And this had to be, of course, fair for the craftsmen, but also the endurances wanted to make business with this model, of course. And also this company where I worked for was kind of a man in the middle, also had some, of course, business model requirements here. And the last point was here the partner network. As I already highlighted one slide before, for the challenges, the efficiency, effectiveness, and predictability questions, which were really low in their case, kind of to improve. So we focus on the first two points in this presentation. So the administration of digital damages and also the communication part between endurances and craftsmen. Here you see a visualization of the network of services from this company with 700 people. And this is my already, how to say, learning, and also, of course, present for you. If you would like to coach bigger contexts also, then it makes totally sense to have this bigger big picture also, and to focus on in the next steps. But at first it makes sense to understand where is the customer and which network of services points like nodes work together. And this simplified visualization should help you to emphasize that there was a high complexity, and there were also other points to consider, of course, but for this presentation, I wanted to highlight for you here on the left, the operational service for damage and maintenance requests, the brokerage service for suitable craftsmen if there are damages, and of course also the partner management services for the endurance and also suitable craftsmen. And one essential point, of course, also in my context was the digital products development service, which was also correlated to the IT and like software development.
Is there any reason why there's pink in that diagram? Does that represent a different relationship or anything like that?
Ah, yeah, very good question. This is like connection to the customer, like this where this services were mainly customer facing. Therefore, the pink, because the pink point was here, this should highlight the customer facing services. Okay, here you see the first point where we focus on now, provide effective and fast damage services for real estate. Here you see also the highlighted services on the diagram, which I created together with the customer. And this helps really to see, okay, where is the first step, where we are now, and which leadership persons, and of course also team members and stakeholders do we need to focus on. And here you see also an example. I use here, of course, anonymized like pictures. where I observed many of their meetings, their events also, for example, a leadership meeting and also panel board, which was together with the CEO, with the head of operations, and also internal innovation lead, and the strategic project and portfolio management service lead. And this is important in this case also, especially the last person which I highlighted, because this person was very helpful to validate also my perception. So as I said, around 12 months was this support, and the organization was quite big with 700 people. So I needed some validation partners for my own perception. And of course, also I wanted to get feedback from my own work. So already from the beginning, as I started to observe their meetings and also their processes, started to understand them, I had the goal to find suitable self-reflection and peer reflection partners. Here I have the first questionnaire for you. I have also the chat open where I provide a link, but you can also use the barcode which you can see on my screen. The question here is, where do you see yourself in knowing and applying the Kanban Maturity Model as a map for organizational resilience? Because the next slides, I would like to know this from you. The next slides focus also on the Kanban Maturity Model, but I want to be, of course, empathical to you. That means if you don't know the Kanban Maturity Model, I will, of course, explain also some basics so that we have all the same understanding. Yeah, I see already the first results. Thanks a lot. So we have, I make an update. We have 4 participants. So the most of you say, I don't have so much knowledge, so I will explain also some points. And here you see already one of the elements also, which is integrated in the Kanban Maturity Model, the cultural side and the social side. So it was important to understand typical, now I see also some new results. Thanks a lot. The typical cultural values are also, you can see in the Kanban Maturity Model, and you can understand also based on the Kanban Maturity Model which trust level is typically in place, and of course connected to the company where you work for and the organization which you support. So it doesn't matter if you work in a company internally or as a consultant externally, the Kanban Maturity Model can help you to understand the level of trust, the level also of regarding innovation, and also, of course, how open they are towards improvement and also new ways, new practices. So we will go deeper there, but just take in mind already now, it's really helpful to use it as a map for organizational resilience. This is not a pre-definition, it's a map which helps us to orient and to know, okay, what steps can we take next? And of course, also the reflection partner was there very helpful. This is another tip for you if you don't use so now many like feedback partners. This was really one important point to support the company. So here you see one result also of my analysis for the social context. I found that one of the former development leaders before I entered the company skipped the work and had to skip the work, both. There was a lot of pressure against him because he tried to implement Scrum in a very hard way. It was in this case like in the IT part where he did a lot of mistakes, like he overwhelmed and overreached the people, in this case with Scrum, because the trust level in this company was quite low and also the innovation level was quite low. So they were really mainly individually focused, and he didn't take appropriate coaching steps and also predefined the way how they work with the Scrum framework. As we know, Scrum can work based on a team collaboration and also is optimized for complex product development. But if you are very hard and very, how to say, disruptive, and you don't build empathy towards the current situation, Scrum can also be very painful and also disruptive for the company, of course. And this was here the case. So what did I have to do? The main part was here, I needed evolutionary coaching. So I had to, of course, appreciate what is there. I had to understand the current situation, what works already also well. It was a hard situation for the company and also in this case, the development area. But there were also good things which were working, and we will see them in some minutes. Here, just a small recap, what means evolutionary coaching and how can it work? Of course, I had to understand what do they use already for visualization. For example, about their work. Maybe they had already some metrics in place. I had to understand, did they use some feedback loops also, like regular reflection points? And do they also promote time for this? And of course, the last one, did they have some people who also really show acts of leadership? For example, my self-reflection partner had a quite high majority, like the head of strategic portfolio management, which we see in some minutes also again. This was really helpful that he had a good overview about the situation and also that he was leading by example and also had already good values in place, which helped me also to work with him together to foster small steps to improve. But again, just for you to keep in mind, this is really helpful for me in every situation, and the company also gives this as a feedback. The visualization part, the feedback part, and of course also the leadership, who shows acts of leadership. It could be anybody, of course, but in this case, I identified that especially the head of strategic portfolio management had this this ability and also this pull to do that. Here you see now, yeah, do you have a question here or was it just like for the, yeah, okay, no, then we go on. Here you see the 3 elements of the Kanban Maturity Model, which summarize evolutionary coaching also, of course, and also it's called a managed evolution. So culture, practices, and outcomes. And the culture amplifies the values also, of course, which are lived. And the goal is, of course, that we foster a good balance between culture and practices. And of course, we want to address suitable outcomes. That means the results which we have based on the practices which we apply. And of course, which also the culture which we live. For example, a cultural element is transparency, of course. And of course, also collaborative work and work towards customer. And as I said, they were more individually based as I came. And this was already a good insight for me and important to understand. There was kind of a mismatch between the culture and the practices which they tried to foster. That means after the development lead left the company, the management tried to foster even harder practices than team-based. This means harder than Scrum. This means more than one team practices, and also predefined ways of working over one team, more than one team. This means, as I said, it was a network of services, and it was kind of a force that they did this for the people which worked there. And also 8 developers around left the company from this, in this case, IT, one of the IT teams. And as I said, I was responsible for around 6 teams. This means also services which work together. So what you should learn till now is that we had a mismatch between the culture and the practices. And the message is, which is also my learning in this journey, that we should really lead by values and have also suitable partners with us to foster these values also. It's maybe not enough that we are alone. We need kind of also coalition which works together with us. And I said I found at first the lead of and head of portfolio management and strategy. Okay, here you see also an example from the Kanban Maturity Model. Of course, we will not go very, very deep now here, but of course, if you have some time after my presentation, we can have a look here again. You need just to understand here on the left side that they had mainly individual cultural values in place, like achievement for their own, for every individual person, and try to foster customer-driven practices and visualization more over one team, and also already metrics to understand customer predictability and also end-to-end flow. And of course, this was very hard for the people, and also it was not successful because it was very stressful for the people. They were just not used to the practices which were addressed and predefined by the management. And as you see here also, again, Scrum would be here in the middle, like maturity level 1, team focused, and they even tried harder practices to implement, which was, as I said, very stressful for the people. And here you see the second point in my presentation, predictability. After we spoke about the effectiveness of the damage service, which was not successful so far, they, as I said, try to improve it with customer-facing practices, but they missed the point that the people were mainly working for their own. And here you see the predictability point in the second. As you see here, the cumulative flow diagram, which I also analyzed as I came. I came around in the first quarter 2023. And you can see here in December 2022, this is here the December 16, that they had nearly nothing done. So this was not just because they had very hard time to get something done. Also, they even not used their ticket tool and also their metrics. So they started it again around like in the 1st of January, like at the beginning of the year 2023 and also the end of the year 2022. And the development lead had to go around in October 2022. So they had a long time where they were kind of orientless and also stressed by their management like upper management, higher than also than the development lead. And as I came in the first quarter 2023, we recognized some improvements, like incrementally, of course. And it was good to see after we had some workshops and, of course, also discussions that they were able to not just use more frequent visualization of their work and building trust based on meetings which they had more regularly to reflect. Also, it was good that the customers gave better feedback. But of course, the cumulative flow diagram helped them also to see, okay, we make progress, and there's kind of a balance more and more between what we get inside our process and what we finish. Like the green line here, right? Like this is the done line, and the distance between the line below and the upper line is, of course, the work in progress. So you can see there was not such high difference than before, than at the end of 2022 around. Like as you see, December 16 was very low progress, and they, as I said, used also their tool not so much.
What was the purple line? There was purple in the axis. It says N in something, but I see very little purple on your chart. What was that?
Yeah, good question. This was their testing line, end-to-end tests also. Like, very good question. They had quite low tests during that time till April. So this was one improvement point. Also, after the first quarter where I supported, we took this for the next workshops in quarter 2. Yeah, very good point. So the quality was not appropriately checked. As we see here, it was quite low testing activity. But we have to say in this context also that they had also a special, like, let's say, during that time still some specialists in tests and end-to-end testing. So this means also the purple line, like developer tests, but also they had not an appropriate way to track that. I just want to say they had also some specialists in this case during that time that checked it manually, and this was not visualized appropriately on that diagram during that time. Good question. Okay, then I think let's go on. Here you see the self-reflection partner. As I said, very insightful and very important. As I said, this story is not about me. It's about the company and also the people who helped me. And of course, also the Kanban Maturity Model, because it can work as a compass, as a navigator for you. And it worked for me like that I know, okay, do I overwhelm them, for example, by myself? Do I overreach them? And are they overreached by the leadership, for example? And therefore, it was so important to validate also my perception with the self-reflection partner, and also explain him, of course, in easy words, what is the sense of the KMM and how I intend to work, and which next steps do I want to take next. It was really important. So the last point in my presentation was the efficiency part and the resilience, of course, because, as you know, customers take not just like they don't just value predictability and also to deliver what they want. This means effectiveness. They also value that you have efficient and resilient processes, because then you can, of course, also match the price. If you work more efficient, then you have just more space to adjust your price and to also make good contracts with the customers. And of course, also internally, it's good to have efficiency for your employees, and also, of course, in general, the organization, because efficient processes can also better focus on the value stream and also on steps of knowledge discovery. So we avoid to do things which are not valuable, and of course also which are not, which are maybe causing delays. So here you see an example also from the Kanban Maturity Model, which visualizes the kind of lower level of the former development lead, who was mainly team focused to individually focused, so not towards higher majorities than between 0 and 1. It's called also here kind of victim mentality, like finger pointing and so on. And then you see here an example from majority level 4, which is more like risk hedged. And this symbolizes strategic lead for portfolio management, where I work together with. So he had, as you see here on the right, on the picture as an example, a broader view about metrics, flow of work, and of course also the whole network of services. And this helped me a lot because I was new in the company, still in the first quarter, and it was important to have somebody like this who had already some years experience in this company and also this broader view. Here you can see one appraisal which I run. I run 3 appraisals at all, and don't feel overwhelmed by this graphics. It's just an example. You see here on the right, the cultural appraisal, and on the left, the practices which they used. And you see the practices appraisal here on the left, majority level 0 is ML0C. And ML1-2, they had already some practices in the first quarter in place, which were like symbolized by achievements and also some first steps to visualize individual work and also team-based work, but it was still quite low. And on the right side, you see that they had mainly individual values in place. So how can I work my work done, and how can I satisfy my customer as an individual person? But of course, the majority level 2 and 1 would be much better in like towards customer predictability and also collaboration. How can we as a team, or also even more than one team as a service network of services, can better work and also foster end-to-end understanding based on a common board, so that we can better support us and understand blockers and delays in the process, in the end-to-end process. But they were not so far in their collaboration.
Christoph, you've got a question from Maru.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. I actually had a couple of other questions in the chat, but this one couldn't wait. Just for me to make sure I understand this graph correctly. This is a self-perception questionnaire filled by the people involved, and each one of the bars on the x-axis is a particular maturity level. What's the difference between ML4T and ML4C, for example? And
nice.
The question is, for example, let's read ML0C. Does that mean that for ML0C, 60% of the people surveyed, or 80%, if you addition both green parts, think we're in the green, and 20% think not at all? Is that what it means? The 3 questions in one, sorry.
No, yeah, let's see if it's no problem, but of course, I'm positive thinking to help you. The thing at first you ask ML4T and ML4C. This is a kind of standard visualization from, if you take Kanban coaching practices, there you get also to know some tools to evaluate, and this is based on an Excel evaluation and appraisal, which results to this diagram. And it means transition steps and consolidation steps. So the question is, if you have, for example, maturity level 3, and you want to go to a higher maturity and you want to foster evolutionary change, of course, you need to know practices, and this is really about practices to come stepwise, incrementally to a higher maturity. And this means that means, for example, ML4C, if this would be in place, that we have already good consolidation practices there. And the KMM has examples and also well-known practices which you can use to consolidate. Of course, you should also always cross-check to your context and organization. And the last two questions from you were about the percentages, right? I did this appraisal, but of course also validated with my self-reflection partner. This means it's really based, this appraisal, on the KMM practices, which serve you as an orientation. So the 80%, for example, if you see some red, this means these practices were not in place. So they were higher measure. They would be higher measure if they have them in place, but they didn't have them. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so it's not related to the number of people surveyed, but about.
Yes, right. It's not about the number. Right. Good question. It could be, but it's about the practices which appraisal Excel has in place.
It's an aggregated.
And the thing that I'm going to add in there as well, the Kanban University, who created this model with the help of the community, there's not actually a formal way of measuring people at the moment. It's something that they're working on, and they're going to have a formal thing in the future where you can then use this. So right now, like, several people have like pulled together charts that look a little something like this, and it's either done through like Christoph having conversations, or because you have to look at the culture and the values and the behaviors at all levels for the whole area that you're reviewing, because don't think that this is just a team thing. You might have to have conversations with those senior leaders as well. So there's quite a lot to think about when you go into those kind of like discussions and assessment.
So there is an aggregated score for the practices, but how can it be that, for example, on the right, you have some green in ML6 and 5 and none at ML0, 1, etc.?
Yeah, this was the observation, and the perception. So there are also some higher values which are recognized. And of course, it's really, a first appraisal. It was there in the first quarter. So if you see these values and also some parts of this network of services, of course, the cultural side is about the values which are lived. So it was interesting to see, but it was like this, that they were already using some maturity level 5 and 6 practices towards, for example, measurement. And of course, also they addressed these values to have overall kind of stability and next steps to also innovate the company. Like maturity level 5 and 6 are already really high. And it was interesting. They had, for example, an innovation team also, which also saw about migrate, for example, software components, but also automate processes. Does it answer your question? So it's as you can see here, and you should understand here, it was really obvious that they had very big gaps still in their, work, and it was not stable. Yeah, good question.
Totally answers my question. Yeah, thank you. I should have taken it from your perspective. Yeah, you're just observing the pockets of maturity levels that they have. You're not making any adjustments there. Thank you.
And you're welcome. And the main thing is here, also I got this as a feedback. Of course, you should try to work incrementally, and this visualization shows that they didn't do that. They didn't have a perception about this. and like a feeling for that. They never used Kanban, for example, and coaching practices, of course. This was missing, and therefore I came also as a coach because they had a high fluctuation, and also their development leader left the company, for example, and their network of services was not so stable. So I have one last questionnaire for you here also about the mismatch of culture and practices. I'm really curious to know from you, we as a group, did we use already like such tools like Kanban Maturity Model, appraisal, or similar? Maybe you have also other examples which we can share and speak about.
Christoph, you need to activate the slides, I think.
Ah, okay, interesting. Moment, I share with you. Otherwise, we will skip this, but does it not work? I will. Ah, it works.
Yep.
Nice.
Thank you.
I didn't do anything, but it works. It's good. My wish came true. It's good. So it's interesting because usually they work sometimes, but sometimes it's just a technical thing, of course. Maybe because I activated the tab, it's already kind of an activation for the presentation. I just pressed here. So one of you already participated. You didn't use this so far. And I'm also honest, before I became Kanban coaching professional 2022, at the beginning of 2022, I also was not so much aware of this culture and practices side. I'm already around 8 years agile coach, and of course also became more and more an organizational developer in the last couple of years. But the Kanban coaching practices and also Kanban Maturity helped me a lot to be much more aware of this mismatches, and of course also to get better perception validation by self-reflection partners, because sometimes you just don't see this difference between culture and practices, and you need some more eyes and ears. Okay, thank you. So we have two people who participated, and this means we have like both in the group, but no one of you used the Kanban Maturity Model so far for this analysis. Thanks a lot. So,
sorry, a couple of us have only just now got the question. The question didn't come up for us, so there's a bit of a delay on some of them, but I've used the KMM for my work.
Moment. There's a question, but I didn't understand the question. Maybe again, was it already? Helen, could you repeat, please?
I was just saying that me and Maru couldn't see the Menti question, so
Ah,
that's
me-
why you
and
only
me.
got, and Adam, that's why you only got 2 answers, because it never changed on my screen.
Okay, but now you see it, right? You see the screen, and you see 6 people participated now. Thanks a lot.
It was a different link, and it was very helpful last time posting it into the chat. And then just when I was thinking, oh, I need to scan the code, the QR code disappeared. So it's like, oh, what do I do?
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot for
But it's
sharing.
all good
Yeah,
now.
sorry that I didn't share again like at the first time. Now we have 7 votes. Thanks a lot. So
And you've got a question from Tomo.
Yeah, Tomo?
I'd like to ask about this gap between culture and practices. It's easy to go in and see that they're not doing things you want them to do, and they're doing other practices that are less mature. How do you, in the culture is subjective measure, when you see a low culture, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
When you see low practices, that's easy. You can say, "Oh, let's do it this way instead of that way." But when you see when you see lack of enthusiasm or a culture that says this makes no sense, I'm not going to do it, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my first approaches is there to lead by example and also to live the values by myself. And of course, I had also the partner with me, and I searched also for other partners in this company, this peer and self-reflection partner. So the question is, of course, how can we foster better culture and also living the values? One, of course, is that we live them by ourselves and, of course, foster communication. Because I like always this example, if you go, for example, if you want to do sports and you register for a fitness studio and you want to be fitter, but you don't go there, of course, you will not be fitter. So the question is, how can we be fitter by using also transition practices? And this is one of the first steps is from the Kanban method also to use practices like visualize the work of individuals, visualize the work of a team, of course, and of course also over one team between some teams who work in a service together and even maybe in a network of services. So I want to emphasize that the practices rightly applied and with the right transition steps combined by leading by example and also living the values, being authentic, can inspire the people also. Does it help already? Like I know this is very relative. You need to be careful in every context specific. You need to understand and apply this. But these are my experiences in the last years, let's say in the last 3 to 4 years especially, but also as in the last 8 years, I made good experience with this, like being authentic and also, of course, thinking like living what I would like to see from the others. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm also curious, of course, from your side, what is your best or good way to go?
I like the transition practices because I can teach practices, I can reinforce practices. It's harder to change culture. But sometimes the culture has to be, how can I say, it's baked into the organization, right? If you think that your boss is going to fire you if you make any mistakes, right, you won't do any experiments. So I've got to fix that one higher.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. And I like, as you say, like transition track practices. This is also like a deeper topics there. But for example, I also use in some contexts also even gamification to foster also ways how to come easy together and play with each other. Of course, you need to be careful in like about where you use it, but I made really also in kind of conservative environments good experience with, for example, Lego also. Yeah, but this is just for visualizing and of course also getting to know the practices. Yeah, thanks a lot. So I go on. Here you see like kind of a change curve, of course. I came, as I said, here in the middle where the first KMM appraisal shows up. And in the initial situation was even before the development lead came, 2021 in the fourth quarter. And then he tried relatively fast to foster, in this case, Scrum as a team-based practice where they worked mainly individually and also their culture was not innovation driven. It was more like like business as usual for them already many years. And he tried to foster innovation, and Scrum was just too much for them in their context. And therefore they lost 8 developers around, and also some other people decided to go. And the whole network of services was destabilized because of course, the digital part was 2022 also very relevant, not just because of Corona, Also, in general, they were highly automated in some parts, but with old legacy software, and of course also in a old way of working, and already many years. So they were not open in this case for Scrum and for team-based work. And as they had this higher pressure also from the management, they also felt that even more people want to go, and also the customers gave bad feedback. So then I came in the first quarter 2023. I run also workshops after I observed their situation and understand their processes. And you see, we had here between the red one and the yellow one also a small gap or like a small fall here, which means they had to get used to their own arrangements, which they did in some of the like teams and also services where I run workshops. So I want to say this is also a learning from my side. Maybe I had during sometimes too many changes to the same time, even if they were small. Next time I will focus even more, maybe let's say on 2 or 3 changes, not 5 or 6 during the same time. But of course, it was good that the curve didn't drop too much. So we had here a small drop, but it was still not satisfying for me to see that. But after this drop, they had improvements, and I also run KMM appraisal 2 and also 3 here in the green area, like in the first quarter 2024. And they really were happy with this improvement. Of course, there are still steps to do. Of course, there are always things to improve, but they also decided to extend the contract, my coaching contract, because they were really happy about the understanding of their own situation and organization, and of course also the incremental steps to improve. So this is also one present, let's say, one learning for you, and also for me, of course. I had to, and I understood that it does not need to be always an improvement. The value from your work can already be that you foster transparency and visualization, and of course also measurements, so that the people are better able to understand where they are and how they can improve together, and of course also together with the customer. This was also important because before they didn't use nearly no metrics, and after that they know, okay, our customers, they are much more happy and satisfied with us. We meet customer expectations, and this was important to have this in mind, this change curve, and to visualize it over time. So here some last slides about also 2 examples of my coaching log.
Sorry, Christopher, could I interrupt
sorry.
and just ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious whether, I'm sure you have, but what the correlation is between the mapping of your KMM appraisals and other metrics, for example, your cumulative flow diagram. I'll get the word eventually. So if you've mapped your perception of how people were doing versus the outputs, or even better, the outcomes.
Yeah, in my eyes, it was a combination between the KMM appraisal and the perception from my peer, and of course also the feedback from the teams and also the services in general about my work, because I was kind of very visible in their teams, not only in virtual meetings, also I observed them on site. So very good question. From my experience, KMM can help you as a compass and navigator, and all in combination, of course, always emphasize also with the people, and ask and try to combine also, of course, the perception based on the KMM with the metrics which you use, as you say, the CFD. Is it helpful already?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you could almost take this graph and overlay it on the CFD and see a direct correlation between the two. At least that's what
It can be, but it's not only about the CFD, because Kanban is also about customer quality and predictability. But of course, as you say, the CFD can also show some predictability aspects, but it's more than just workflow, like flow of work diagram. Like CFD is mainly about efficiency, of course, and also flow of work, but it does not say so much about customer value, or like, let's say, nearly nothing. If you just see the CFD, you cannot see the effectiveness of your work.
Yeah.
Also,
No,
the
that makes
KMM
sense.
quite often looks across multiple teams. So you effectively need the full value stream to be able to get something done. You're looking at the whole thing to get done. Whereas I imagine the CFD that Christoph showed us earlier on was just a team individual thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but you could talk about throughput, but then again, you don't want to directly compare things because there's a story, isn't there? Throughput could be down, but that's because everybody's working on a brand new project.
Yeah.
So it's all in moderation, isn't it?
Yeah. So with apologies, when I say CFD, it was just because you highlighted the CFD, but see that I mean metrics in general. And you could do it. Could you do a KMM at a team level?
Yes, you can. This is mainly the level 1 and level 0. The level 1 is team focused, so you can use KMM organizational wide. And of course, also metrics you can use organizational wide, but the KMM as a map is much better to see also appropriate steps, like possible transition steps, and of course also gaps between maturity levels, like network of services or even networks of services, network of services, like very big, huge 600 or some 1,000 employees organizations. So as Helen said, the KMS here really helpful to emphasize even higher majority, and of course also to see where we have maybe even low majority culture or values in place, where are applied also practices which overwhelm and overreach the people. Yeah.
I think I'm going to throw something else in there. Because for me, when you said, can it be done at team level? The answer is it depends, because it's so much context. So if you truly are a feature team that has everybody within its team in itself to deliver everything end to end, and you need no one else, knock it out of the park. Yeah, use it in the model in that instance. But if you have to go to people who take photos, or people who put your product live, or you need to go to an external tester to be able to get stuff done, then you have to cover that whole value chain of getting that work done end to end. And so you're only as slow as your weakest point. And so if one of those points is really super unagile and slows everything down, that's going to impact your overall number. So I just wanted to add that extra qualifier in there, because it just depends.
Yeah, I like that. I from my experience, you can use it for that, but you don't must, of course. And as you explained, it's really important to know and to understand the KMM should not be like we need to go one day to 6. If our team is working towards customer, and of course also fosters predictability and efficiency. And we have maybe also some, we have resilience already also. We are able to work also maybe with some people outside the team, and also companies like suppliers, which can help us if we have over demand, like more demand than capacity. This can already be a situation which is, acceptable for us, of course. From my understanding, at least, one is kind of still unstable. Maybe this is my understanding, we should go to stepwise to level 2 at least, to have more end-to-end thinking. But as you say, it depends also how big the team is how much resilient one team is. Maybe if there are 20 people, they provide already a service. They can maybe also, of course, help them, and they foster already customer focus and end-to-end thinking. This is very relative, as you say. I like what you say, like it depends also on the size, of course, and also the capabilities which you have overall as a team. Yeah, very good. So here's the coaching log, just as an example. I will share, of course, also the slides with you because I need to take care also on the time. I have still time, but of course, I also value the time boxes. Here you see just examples how it developed stepwise monthly. And this matches directly to the colors here on this map. And here you see also the last situation in the first quarter 2024. So the coaching logs should help you, and I can also provide for you the whole coaching log if you would like, over all months, around 12 to 14 months. The coaching log helps you to incrementally understand the situation and, of course, see also drops in your coaching. Because, as you know, and usually it will not be a straightforward coaching. There will also be drops, and you can better understand why maybe it dropped, and you should validate, of course, also your perception. Yeah, and here you see also already an improved situation for one of the teams. And I've also, of course, we fostered after September an end-to-end view and also cumulative flow diagram, which I don't show now. But this was a progress and a result of the workshops that we have between the 6 services, which I highlighted at the beginning, a common board, and also common cumulative flow diagram to better see also common like blockers and delays in our process. And here, but still here, you see till September that it was already a better, more stable way of working. Of course, still improvements, and therefore we had also the workshops in the second quarter to improve in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and also now in the first quarter 2024. But in comparison, it was in their eyes and also from customer feedback a better way of working, and the results were more qualitative than before. So soon we have Easter, and just for you to summarize in less than 1 minute, of course, around my learning from the network of services and the organization was, even in a 700 people company, you can get in common understanding, and especially also an understanding as a coach, if you work together with a sufficient partner, and of course also more than one partner, to validate your own perception, and of course also to focus on the first services to improve. And the evolutionary coaching with incremental steps, also with the help of the KMM, was here really helpful. Always keeping in mind, of course, the context of the company. And as Helen said, it depends how you proceed. There's no one way to go, but you can use the KMM as a map for organizational resilience and as an orientation also together with a self-reflection partner, at least one. I had especially one in this case. Then the promotion was also important, that I got feedback, not just from the partner, also from the teams. So I built trust by myself as a coach, also based on the results which we reached together. This was important also to convince more and more the leadership around the teams and the services, like the upper leadership, that we can make also steps in this complex network of services. As I said, it was a 3 combined network of services about endurance, real estate, and also partner management for the craftsman who solves the damages and also makes the maintenance work. And the last step here, the basic Kanban knowledge. This was important to also not just convince, also teach sometimes the people in appropriate workshops about practices, and of course also to apply transition steps towards higher maturity. And therefore I used visualization, managing the work, of course, and of course applying a WIP limit stepwise in different teams, and also over teams and service orientation where can work more than one team, so that we can foster flow and focus, and also apply appropriate metrics and experiment in a focused way. Yeah, this was from my side. Thanks a lot for listening. And of course, I'm open for feedback and also for questions. I heard also there were some more in the chat.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christoph. Let's give him a round of applause for pouring his heart out about his experiences. Okay, let's over to you, Maru. Let's ask your questions.
All right, I'll start with my first one, but if you feel like I'm taking too much time, feel free to interrupt me so that others get to ask your questions. My first one was related to the service network analysis, or very first diagram you showed.
Moment, I come there. The network of services. Yes, this one, right?
Then you showed some overlay over this. I think the following two slides had two different overlays. Oh, this one. Oh, okay. I thought there was two different overlays. All right. So this is some areas of focus that you decide to focus on for your Kanban coaching. Or what was what's the idea?
Yes, this was not just, also for the Kanban coaching, but also to understand where is the highest urgency, to also from customer side. Like I had already a perception about where to start, but I wanted to highlight my perception with this like shadows, and ask the customer, is this where we should start? I also had arguments, of course, but it helped me a lot to visualize also my perception and my starting points.
All right. So that means in your personal roadmap, in your imagination, in your head, you had a kind of a phase-like plan of areas to attack. You wouldn't have started working on IT ops and operational service for damage and etc. You took each one apart and you did your coaching in each area apart separately, or you work
it's like, because they were called first services, but sometimes also quite small teams. I tried to how to say, like, to have an eye on 3 to 4 services on the same time, sometimes also 2 to 3, but not just one, because they work together towards customer value. So from the beginning, it was already very helpful to not just, for example, focus on product development, or it was also helpful to see the IT operations side, where they also deploy and create new releases.
All right, so next to this model of the network of services, you had some kind of value slices, or end-to-end value slices that you had of the organization. You didn't need to focus on the teams, so teams individually, nor on services individually. You have some additional model in your head.
I think before he answers that, we have to separate these words, teams and services, because like we keep using those words a lot. And in Kanban, we don't really talk about it as like a team per se, and that sounds worse than it is. But we say services. If I work in an IT support team, I might, as a team, provide multiple services. I need to do daily checks. I need to deal with bugs and problems that are coming through. I need to upgrade the architecture of, I don't know, some system or other. So services are the things that these team entities can provide to other parts of the organization. So when he's mapping out his services, he's understanding what those services are, as well as what teams do they physically relate to. So I just wanted to make it clear what those two words meant, just so everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation, Helen. It's in my case, it's perfectly clear. It's just that I'm assuming that there is some additional model, some additional view that Christoph has in mind that he didn't show us on the slides to guide his work, to prioritize the work, etc. And that's why I was asking him the question about some end-to-end visualization that he has in his mind. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I have in mind, and I didn't show it now here on the slides, but of course, you can think about like this, but this what you already see here, they already show mainly the end-to-end value. If you think, for example, the digital damage software and maintenance software, where the customers can also create new cases, new incidents. Then the digital products development service provides this software and also interface to put this new incidents inside. And of course, there needs to be a server which is reliable and provides the software. So they work deeply together. And of course, also the employees and in general the activities which can provide the communication with the customer need to work together. So here on the left side, operational service for damage and maintenance requests. Yeah, but you are right. There were also other visualizations which show also, for example, in a horizontal view, the steps of knowledge discovery and also kind of a workflow. But I also like to emphasize the steps of knowledge discovery, that we understand more and more where we are and where we focus on.
All right, thank you. I'm going to hand back over to Helen. I have two more questions at least, but I don't want to spam people. I will wait in line for others.
You question hog. Any questions from anyone else?
Request for the link at the end.
Yeah, I think they just want the feedback link, Christoph.
Yes, moment, I can share the link. And I hope you also got some insights and inspiration. And of course, I'm open for any feedback to improve. This was really interesting for me also to hear your questions. You had some very interesting questions. And if you have others, I'm here. Yeah.
I have others. I mean, I'm just waiting for other people. If not, I'll just go ahead. I have a couple of questions about the architectural.
Just before you do, Mauro, I was just going to say, you're more than welcome to stay behind and listen to Mauro's questions. But if not, if you've got to go because you've got to go to work, or you're going to start your Easter eggs early or something like that, have a great weekend wherever you are in the world, and see you soon. But